Hello and welcome to this week's Talk of the Town show. We're glad you're with us. We have a great show planned for you. First off, I would like to introduce our first guest, John DeVries with Hallman Lindsay Paints. Now, your corporate office is right here in the area, so it's really exciting for us to have you on. Let's talk about the painting trends for 2014. As the year gets started, people are going to want to start improving their home, and paint has a lot to do with that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on today. The paint trends here for this coming year are we're really seeing people use bright accent type colors to really express their own personalities. People are finding that it's a lot easier to change the color of paint in a room versus doing a full remodel.
Now, when we talk about paint, is there a better time of the year to do painting, or can any time of year be a good time if you know what you're doing?
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. Exterior painting projects, clearly, the summer is going to be the best time of year for that. Interior projects we can do year-round. Nice part about long, cold winters here in Wisconsin, it's a great time to do some painting inside.
Absolutely. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that people make, especially, the do-it-yourselfers who want to save a little bit of money, they want to do it themselves, but what are some mistakes that they could maybe steer clear of?
Oh, sure. The main problem that we come into with homeowners working on projects is they just don't fully understand the scope of the project. Paint is a little more complicated than putting a coat of paint on the wall. Sometimes we need to really take a look at surface prep and fully understand the scope of the project.
Now, a project like this really involves a lot of resources, and people should take the time to really figure out how to best execute the plan of painting. What resources does Hallman Lindsay offer to the people of this area?
One thing that's really nice with Hallman Lindsay is the experience that we have within our stores. All of our stores have employees with 10 or plus more years experience within the company. And we also offer on-site color consultants as well at each of our 5 locations here in Madison area.
There's so many different kinds of paints. So when you think about that, it can be a little daunting to start a project like that. Just talk about the different kinds and maybe just some tips for getting started.
Absolutely. Well, there are many different types of projects, whether it's interior and exterior, if we're doing a living room versus a kitchen versus a bathroom. A lot of the paints these days deal with water-based coatings, but it's really good to come in and talk to a paint professional to fully find out what these types of products are and what we need in each specific situation.
John, can you talk to us about some tips in regards to seeing that paint sample? You hold it up on the wall and it's one little sliver of paint. You splash the whole color, the whole wall with that color, and it doesn't turn out the way you think. Is it easy to redo, or are there tips for trying to pick out the best one when you just had this little sample?
No, absolutely. The problem we have with color samples is, like you mentioned before, it's a real small sample. It's hard to envision what that's going to look like on a large wall within a room. At all of our Hallman Lindsay stores, we have a test quart program that can be taken advantage of. For a very small cost, you can actually pick up a full quart of paint and do a full brush out on a wall or on a sheet of cardboard and hold it up on the wall. It's also good to check that in different types of lighting and different times of day. It really helps us to find out if we do have a bad color situation before we invest in several gallons of paint to do a project.
Sure. Are you a painter, or did you get into this because now you do this as a living?
No, I was actually never a painter. I've spent all my time on the other side of the counter as a paint technician, working with color references, working with different types of home projects and things like that. So,
what do you like most about your job? I would imagine it's very rewarding, helping people and letting them beautify the spaces that they live in and call their home.
You hit it about on the head right there. One thing I really love is helping people with projects, so they can really transform part of their home, office, or space of living. And another nice part about it is I get a chance to work with my neighbors. So I'm selling paint to people I see on a daily basis when I walk throughout the neighborhood, and that's really rewarding for me.
So when we talk about outdoor versus indoor paint, when people come to you, they might not know. That's a great resource for them to come and say, okay, we know we want to do something, but we're not quite sure. You're able to help a lot of people do that.
Absolutely. That's one thing we really enjoy is we get to act as kind of a navigator through these painting projects. It's really easy to walk in and you see a long aisle of many different types of paint, but it's hard to know exactly which one of those cans you need for your project. And with the experience of our staff and our stores, it's real nice that we can come in and help you navigate through that whole process.
Just let us know where people can come and find you and check you guys out on the web.
Absolutely. You can find us on the website at www.hallmanlindsay.com, or check us out online or in the phone books for all of our area store phone numbers.
Well, you've inspired me. I want to paint our bathroom, and I want to paint, I think, one accent wall in our living room. So I think I'm going to come see John for that.
That sounds great. Can't wait to see you.
Thank you so much. John DeVries with Hallman Lindsay Paints. Thanks for being here. I'm Emmy Fink, and right after this, we have more Talk of the Town. We're back. Welcome back to the program. Next on Talk of the Town, we are joined with Ellen Weirden of Restaino and Associates Realtors. Now, this is something that I find so fascinating because we are looking to actually put our house up for sale. So this is good content, folks. How busy has the real estate market been since the beginning of 2014 for you, Ellen?
Well, interestingly, it never stopped being busy in 2013. And normally we have kind of a slowdown around the holiday time. That didn't happen. It's just been busy straight through, which is a great indicator of what's to come.
Now, why do you think that is? I would think a lot of people with the cold and the snow, they're not interested in putting their house up for sale because it's not going to look the best during that time of year. Does that not so much matter?
Well, I think that houses sell every month of the year, but when people are looking at interest rates and they're so good as they've been, even though they've crept up a little bit, I think people want to make sure that they take advantage of that in case the interest rates creep up more. So I think that they're not hesitating for that reason.
So I'd love to ask an expert like you if the recession has hit the Madison area differently than maybe different parts of the country.
Different and in a good way. Madison was insulated more. Now there were people, of course, that lost their homes to foreclosure, and there are short sales as well. Mm-hmm. But compared to other parts of the country, we have done extremely well, and our bounce back was quicker as well also.
Well, that's good to know.
Yes, it's very good to know.
So you bring up the short sale and foreclosures. So in regards to that, any tips if that's a good deal, if it's maybe more for the buyer to worry about? You never know what you're going to find with those, and then you're dealing with the banks. What tips do you have in regards to those? You
can get a good deal. The difference is you don't get the instant response you would get in a traditional kind of transaction. Mm-hmm. What you end up getting is you end up getting extended deadlines because the banks don't respond the same way that when two realtors work together. So the difference is you have to be patient. Okay. And know that you might wait 6 to 9 months sometimes for the transaction to close. That's what makes it different versus closing in 30 to 60 days, which is what usually happens in a traditional transaction.
So if you're an impatient person, you need to just settle down and just wait for it to happen.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That makes sense. What can sellers do to make their home more appealing?
Well, regardless of what month you list your home, I always tell people to make sure the first thing the person sees, which is the front door, when they enter the home, is nicely done, either with potted plants in the summer or some kind of a seasonal decoration. And then once you're in the house, I would say the #1 mistake that sellers make is they don't declutter. And decluttering is really important because you have to remember the buyer is trying to see the house, not your stuff. And even though your stuff may be beautiful, you want to minimize the amount of personal stuff that's out that may distract them from the actual house.
That's a great tip. And you think about it, you might like your stuff. Obviously you do. It's in your
yes,
house.
You do.
But they're envisioning all of their stuff and their belongings there. So the more things you have in there,
yes, the more distracting
it
is.
Away from that. That makes a lot of sense. What should buyers pursue when they're thinking about finding a great deal? I mean, do we call you? Do you try to do it on your own? I mean, a lot of people think you save money that way, but oh my gosh, there's a lot of headaches that come along with that.
There's a lot that comes along with it, and I think the important thing is that you as the buyer are comfortable, whether you're pursuing it yourself, which you can do now, because it used to be what a realtor did was find homes for you and say these are homes that are available. With the internet now, you can find your own home. The problem comes that when you find the home, comparing it to other homes, making sure the value is correct, making sure the biggest mistake people make sometimes is overpaying if they're doing it themselves because they get emotionally involved from the get-go. Mm-hmm. I like to think that as the really good professionals in real estate are the objective people who say to a buyer that they're working with, you know, you don't want to overpay for a house, and try to keep the emotions out of it and try to keep things objective.
Would you say that the emotions are higher if for example, they're going online and they're seeing the homes and they're already somewhat attached before they even go and see it in person? I have fallen prey to that in the past myself.
And what I say to people is when that happens, remember that those photographs, no matter how good or accurate they are, don't give you context. So sometimes people have this vision of what they think it's going to look like, and it may look like it does in the picture, but it ends up being on a corner lot on a busy street, and there's no way to know that unless you know the area.
So in regards to positive signs that we're seeing that the housing market is improving and going to get better, what are those signs? I mean, you're the expert in this field. You're seeing them before everybody else.
I think just the activity level, for one thing. The amount of activity that we saw in 2013 was very promising, and then the fact that the conditions are so good. We're about to enter spring market, which is the busiest market of the year. Our rates are still very low, and we're going to have a lot of inventory coming on the market. So you know that I have people, which doesn't happen regularly, that are lined up for homes, but the home that they want isn't on the market or available yet. You usually don't have people sort of queuing up during January saying, I want to live in this neighborhood, but there's not a home available. So people are kind of sitting back and waiting, and that tells me that things are going to be very, very busy this year.
I like that. Busy things is a good thing for you. Ellen, thank you so much for being here. We have more Talk of the Town right after this. Welcome back to the show. In keeping with the realty theme, we have two more people who are experts in this field, and we're excited to introduce Pam Pennington with Restaino and Associates and Debbie Lee with Showcase Home Stagers. Now, first of all, explain how you two really work together to complete the process of selling a home.
Well, Deb and I have worked together for many years now, and it's been a great, successful combination between our energies and our respective expertise. I'm heavy in marketing and, of course, knowledgeable about real estate, having done it for about 20 years now. And I bring forward the marketing, the research, knowing how to position the house, and then I combo up with Deb, and she does her magic, and I'll let her address that a little bit.
Okay. I meet with the clients. We go through the home room by room, and we do a quick kind of feel what they have, because I like to try to repurpose what they already have. And then I do a checklist report, and so it's very, very detailed. So they can work and check with Pam as to what we're doing. So we're all one team, the homeowner, myself, and Pam.
Well, and sometimes people need a little direction as far as what's going to look the best in somebody else's eyes, and that's exactly what you are. You guys are both a fresh set of eyes to come in and see a home, whereas the homeowner sees it every day. So let's talk about the housing market, and are we in a lull right now? Is it a good time? Where are we at?
Well, I'm happy to report that I've never been busier. Typically, we see a seasonal lull, certainly around the holidays, one can expect. And in fact, usually we see it slowing down dramatically as soon as school starts in the fall, and it just kind of goes straight down towards the holidays, kind of bottoms out into January, and then picks up sometime around the mid to late January, or certainly the Super Bowl. Where I noticed it change certainly this year is in fact, on one day I listed a home and a condo, totally separate areas. And this is late fall, so it should have taken quite a while. And in this case, the home sold in 3 days and the condo sold in 10. So that was remarkable, closing in December. And over the holidays, the very first week of January, received an offer on one of my other properties. So I would say we certainly, of course, received a tiny bit of a lull around the holidays, but it's certainly all systems go right now.
So what are the strategies that you use to make sure these homes do sell and they're not sitting there on the market for months and months or even a year sometimes?
Yeah, right. Well, marketing is my background. I've been in real estate now 20 years. I'm dating myself a bit, but 20 years in the industry. But prior to that, I was in advertising. So I'd like to believe that my bringing that kind of expertise to the table has been somewhat helpful. But you really need to be, I'm very heavy on research and in knowing how to approach correctly pricing a home so the sellers really maximize the revenue that's possible. In addition, going through and finding out what the features are that really, every house, there's no perfect house, I will say that, and I've sold $1 million homes. They too were not perfect, beautiful, but not perfect. But every house has some distinct advantages, no matter how modest or how grand, and every house has some things that you're going to want to try and get beyond.
Of course.
And so I go in and I make those determinations, and then thirdly, design a marketing campaign that can address all of the good features of the house. And then my secret weapon, not so secret today, is Debbie Lee. Debbie, I can honestly say, is the best in the industry, and I'm not alone in that assessment. Many other very accomplished realtors would agree. And Debbie weaves her magic, and it's been an unbeatable combo so far.
It's
in
been
fact,
a lot of fun.
with rare exception, I think we can say every home, with rare exception, has sold very quickly and for top dollar.
And that's been years.
And that's been years worth
Wow,
of.
that's a great track record.
Well, knock on wood, thus far it's been good, and we hope it continues.
So I have to ask, does staging a home have to be expensive?
No, it doesn't. What I try to do is, number one, like I said, repurpose. I like to see what you already have. And you're so used to what you have in your home, you don't think about using it somewhere else. For example, it may need bigger lamps. I may say, you know, we could take those ones from this room and put them in this room. Because you live with it every day, you just don't notice it. So that's what we're all about, is trying to use what you have. And most of what I do is take it down. We want to kind of depersonalize, not make it a blank slate, but we want to take your thumbprint out so somebody else can come in and think, this is awesome. You don't see somebody else's items around that are too personalized, but we still want to make it homey.
Please list a website where people can go on and find out a little bit more about you guys and where they can get this magic team combo.
Yes.
Well, they can go to Restaino and Associates, and I have a web page on site, so they just look up Pamela Pennington, or they can go to showcasehomestagers.com. Yep.
Excellent. Wonderful advice. Thank you both so much for being here. More Talk of the Town is up right after this. Welcome back to Talk of the Town. Our last and final guest is a pleasure to have here. We have John DeMaine with the Madison Symphony Orchestra. First of all, you guys are such a gem here in the Madison area and bringing so much to the art and the theater community. First of all, just tell us a little bit about what you guys are and how long you've been here in Madison.
Oh my goodness. Well, the Madison Symphony Orchestra is a long time institution. As a matter of fact, I think we're in our 9th decade of existence, but since probably 64, 66, somewhere around there, it became a fully professional organization. And we, of course, provide, we sort of think of ourselves as the orchestra for the community of Madison. We play for Madison Opera, we play for Madison Ballet. We have 8 subscription triples, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from September through May with major international guest artists. And the orchestra is a full-size symphony orchestra that is really quite extraordinary in its quality and its ability, and it plays, of course, in the glorious Overture Center for the Arts in Overture Hall, which is a sonic treat if you've never been there. And for those of you who have, you know how fabulous the orchestra sounds in that space live.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know. You have such a following around the area. What is that like for you to know how much people love and will travel the distance that they travel to see you?
Well, I'm very proud to live in an area that I consider to be an arts mecca. I mean, people love the art. It's sports and arts here, you know.
It is.
I watch them readjust their tickets if there's an important game going on, but fortunately when we do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, people can shift their tickets around so that we can enjoy the best of both worlds. But it's an amazing area, and of course we're well situated. We're close to Chicago, close to Milwaukee, so we have, you know, good access to just anything we need. And of course we're blessed by the University of Wisconsin in Madison, which has a very fine orchestral department, and so we have unlimited access to really incredibly high quality musicians.
Now you mentioned Chicago. Your upcoming event that's upcoming in just what, a week and a half or so, was actually invented by the Chicago Orchestra. Now why is it that you're able to bring it to the Madison area?
Well, they developed and patented this program called Beyond the Score, which is an in-depth multimedia look at sort of what goes in. It's like if you're a chef and you're creating a new dish, you know, what are your sources of inspiration? And I think this Beyond the Score is a little different from just your average analysis of a score. You know, like somebody would tell you that this is the first theme and this is the second theme, and then it develops. That's just a sort of theoretical analysis of a symphony. This goes much further than that. This is all about Dvorak and his coming to America, his arriving in New York to take over this school, his meeting the American Negro for the first time, the American Indian, hearing their music, and receiving this music as an inspiration, which he acknowledges winds up in his Symphony No. 9, which is subtitled The New World Symphony. So we're going to really learn in much more detail between visuals and live actors and singers. We're going to learn all about the source of inspiration for this symphony, and yet learn about how it still is constructed and developed along the lines of the way Beethoven would write a symphony. And of course, he's Czech, and so the sounds of his homeland infuse everything he does. And so the symphony sounds Czech, and yet the second and third movements are really inspired by the spiritual and the American Indian dance, and of course the big literary work that inspired the Symphony of a New World is the Song of Hiawatha of Nathaniel Hawthorne. So all of that will be unfolded in a delightful, entertaining way, and the orchestra will be there on stage with the videos and with the actors, and demonstrating these excerpts as you know, connected to what's going on the screen and what the actors are saying. And that goes on for about an hour, and then after the intermission, we play the entire symphony, and hopefully you will listen to it in a way that you've never listened to it before. It will just expand your whole way you listen to music, and hopefully it'll make you want to seek more out about any particular piece of music that you listen to. And I would love to see more of the Beyond the Score presentations come to Madison, because they're really quite fabulous. They've taken Chicago by storm. I mean, they sell out, and the audiences are just wild for it.
Oh, I bet. Well, it's education and entertainment all
combined,
wrapped into one, really.
Right, exactly.
Let us know when people can see this great event, where they can buy tickets, and when the show times are.
Well, I think it's 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, January 26th. It's one performance only. It's for all ages, except we do not permit children under 6. Okay. But we do like, you know, a big spectrum of audience. That's just fine for us. And tickets are available both on our website, madisonsymphony.org, and at Overture Hall.
Excellent. I could see the excitement that you have and the pure joy you have of just talking about it. You're going to want to come and see this show, I can tell. John, thank you so much for being here. A big thank you to all of our guests today. For everyone watching at home, we appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, John, and more Talk of the Town is next.